Do you believe in love at first sight? Better yet, do you believe a romance between a world-famous, handsome athlete and a humble barista could actually work?
Welcome to Nagi Recap!
In this video, I'm summarizing episode 3 of the Heated Rivalry series. This episode introduces us to a new couple, both total eye candy, whose chemistry is absolutely off the charts. However, like many LGBTQ+ couples, they face a timeless struggle. Life isn't always easy when you're living in the shadows. Let's dive into the recap for the full story. Episode 3. Episode 3 takes us into the world of Scott Hunter. It starts at the 2014 Winter Olympics in Sochi, at a cafe where Shane is distracted because Ilya hasn't replied to his texts. Scott and a friend walk in. When the friend mentions how brave an athlete named Joe is for competing in Russia as an openly gay man, given that Russia isn't exactly a safe haven, it hits home for both Shane and Scott. For Scott, it clearly strikes a chord he's trying to hide. Flashback to 4 months earlier in New York. Scott is having a rough season. The media and fans are on his back because he hasn't scored in 6 games. Yet he's still set to captain Team USA in Sochi. One day, after a sweat-drenched run, Scott ducks into a local cafe. There, he meets Kip, a handsome barista caught napping over an art history book. Once awake, Kip suggests a custom blueberry banana smoothie that isn't even on the menu. The sparks are instant. Between the eye contact and the body language, it's clear there's an undeniable magnetic pull. The smoothie is great, but Kip is even better. So Scott leaves a massive tip that leaves Kip stunned. At first, Kip has no clue who Scott is. But the moment Scott leaves, another customer points out that he's a national hockey icon. Following their first encounter, Kip starts following hockey. His friends even tease him about how Scott said his name twice in such a charming way. Kip assumes Scott is straight, but his friends joke that maybe he could bend him. Interestingly, Scott immediately regains his form, scoring a hat-trick that very night. To prep for his next game, Scott returns for his lucky smoothie and leaves another generous tip. By now, Kip knows exactly who he is. Their polite flirting is so obvious that Kip's coworker, Maria, can see exactly what's brewing. Being pursued by someone famous, handsome, and rich makes Kip feel like he's flying, but he's still hesitant to believe a perfect guy like Scott could actually be into him. His best friend, Elena, tells him to get smart and switch shifts so he can see Scott more often. Taking her advice, Kip greets Scott before his next game. This time, Kip treats Scott to a drink to return the favor. Instead of rushing off, Scott asks to stay and work on emails. We all know he's not there for the Wi-Fi, he's there to watch Kip. Before leaving, Scott builds up the courage to invite Kip to his game that night. Kip brings Elena, who teases him for being addicted but shy. Thanks to her, their unconventional first date goes well, even if they barely speak. 2 days later, Scott's team plays Ilya's team in Boston. Of course, Ilya is still a world-class trash talker, mocking Scott's performance all season. Later, Scott gets into a scuffle with Shane in Montreal, which shocks everyone since Shane is usually the calmest guy on the ice. Kip, watching at home with his dad, feels uneasy and brushes off his dad's jokes. The next morning, he's late and stressed about working a catering gig at a fancy gala. In the rush, he spills a tray of food right into Scott. While Scott is a total gentleman about it, a wealthy socialite nearby makes a rude comment about Kip being just a pretty face who can't hold a tray. Kip fears he'll be fired, but his manager is lenient, knowing he needs the money for tuition. Later, Scott finds Kip to apologize and asks him out for dinner. Who could say no to that? Scott waits for Kip until the end of the shift, but the restaurant Scott picked is packed, so he suggests getting takeout and heading back to his place. It's a luxury apartment, and while Kip is admiring the view, things get heated quickly. Their chemistry explodes, and they share an incredibly intimate night. Kip tries to slip away in the morning, but Scott asks him to stay over. The next morning, Scott wakes up to the smell of a blueberry banana smoothie Kip made for him. Overwhelmed by how sweet Kip is, they share another passionate moment. Scott admits he's never actually dated or brought anyone home before. Being a pro athlete makes things complicated, he can't come out yet. Too many people depend on him. But with Kip, he's ready to break his own rules. He asks Kip to move in, and caught up in the romance. Kip agrees. And so, their passionate, secret relationship begins. Kip has to lie to everyone. He tells his dad he's living with Elena and tells his friends he's too busy with work. In reality, he's spending every second with Scott. His friends know something is up, but they stay out of it. For a while, they enjoy a cozy, domestic life. However, reality sets in. Kip realizes Scott might never be ready to go public. Their love only exists within four walls. This becomes painfully clear when Scott panics during a date at an art gallery. Even in a disguise, the fear of being recognized makes Scott so uncomfortable he has to leave. Back home, Scott tearfully apologizes, admitting he doesn't have the courage to step into the light yet. Kip supports him, giving him a pair of neon green socks to wear during games so Scott always feels Kip is with him. And it works. Scott plays better than ever with his lucky charm. Eventually, Elena corners Kip and tells him she knows the truth. Kip admits they've been together for 2 months and that he's happy. But Elena is worried. Even Kip's dad senses the distance and asks him to visit more often. At a gala Elena invited Kip to, Scott buys him a stylish tuxedo. Scott is there too, acting like a stranger when they cross paths. It's awkward, but Elena introduces them officially to break the ice. She then asks Scott for a dance, using the opportunity to confront him. She tells him that while he's a great guy, Kip is suffering in silence. Loving Scott in the shadows is taking a toll on him. Her words hit Scott hard. He realizes he hasn't done enough. Elena insists that while Kip is strong enough to bear the sadness for love, he shouldn't have to. Kip deserves the light, Scott, and so do you. Deeply moved but still terrified, Scott still can't bring himself to go public. After the gala, he picks Kip up at the back entrance like a secret. At home, Scott wants to celebrate Kip's birthday alone together. But Kip wants to go to a local gay bar where his friends are throwing him a party. He wants Scott to come as a friend, but Scott refuses. He loves Kip, but he's not ready. Maybe in a few years, but not now. Kip understands. He heard Scott's speech at the gala and knows the team is his family. But Kip has a family too, and he's tired of lying. Hurt, Kip decides to go home to his dad that night. Scott, haunted by Elena's words, has to let him go. On the way home, Kip thinks about Scott's past. Scott lost his parents at 12 and hockey was the only thing that saved him. The team is the family he needs. Right now, hockey is his everything. When Kip sees his dad, he breaks down in tears. A few days later, Kip celebrates his birthday and his grad school scholarship at the bar with friends. Outside, Scott watches from a distance, unable to join. Back at the Sochi Olympics, despite being apart, Scott still wears the socks Kip gave him. That was the recap of episode 3. Even without the main rivals, the heat was doubled. The chemistry between the actors playing Scott and Kip is undeniable. The episode highlights the very real issue of homophobia in sports, especially hockey. Scott's fear is valid. Coming out could end his career, but it's a heavy burden for Kip to carry. Sometimes love is just a matter of wrong timing. Let's hope they find their way back to each other. Scott's choices here will heavily impact the next chapter for Shane and Ilya, which is why this episode is so crucial. What did you think of this episode? Only 3 more to go in Season 1. And the good news is Season 2 is already confirmed. Let me know your thoughts in the comments.
Dominique et Nick s'en allaient tout simplement, routier, pauvre et chantant. En tout chemin, en tout lieu, il ne parle que du bon Dieu, il ne parle que du bon Dieu.